Okay, so today we are solving other kinds of polynomial equations algebraically. Remember, polynomials have any degree, and they're usually written from highest exponent to lowest. Typically, when we're factoring polynomials with degrees larger than 2, it's similar to how we normally factor quadratics. So number 1 wants me to solve 3x to the 4th equals 4x squared. So what I first want to do here is I want to set it equal to 0. So I'm going to subtract 48x squared from both sides to get everything onto the same side. Which is going to give me 3x to the 4th minus 48x squared equals 0. Then, since I have two terms, I want to see if I can factor out anything from both of them. What do these two terms have in common? 3x squared. So I'm going to factor out a 3x squared. So that means I'm going to pull that out front. What is 3x to the 4th divided by 3x squared? X squared. And negative 48x squared divided by 3x squared? Okay. So I can still factor the stuff inside the parentheses more. What multiplies to negative 16 and adds to 0? Negative 4 and positive 4. And so then, just like with quadratics, I want to take each of my factors and use the zero product property to set those individually equal to 0. So I'm going to have 3x squared equals 0, x minus 4 equals 0, and x plus 4 equals 0. Okay, so on the first one, I want to divide both sides by 3. I get x squared equals 0. Okay. Then I want to go ahead and square root both sides. The square root of 0 is 0. So I get x equals 0 for one of my answers. Thank you. Then on the second one, I want to add 4 to both sides. So I get x equals 4. And then the last one, I want to subtract 4 on both sides. I get x equals negative 4. So all of those are my answer. Questions on this one? If you simplify it, it would be 2 square root of 3 over 3. Okay. So, we forgot this one. On number 3, this one has 4 terms. When I have 4 terms, I want to factor it by grouping. So I'm going to group it into 2 groups. So what can I factor out of my first group? 2x squared. So I'm going to write that out front. And then what am I left over? Okay, x minus 3. On my second group, what can I take out? I'm going to write plus 6 in between, and then parentheses, what I get left over. So what do I get left over? X minus 3 still equals 0. Okay. Then I want to take my two outside pieces, the 2x squared and the 6, and put those together. And then the part that was repeated, the x minus 3, gets written once. And this still equals 0. Okay. Then I want to take my inside pieces, I want to take my pieces inside the parentheses and set those equal to 0. Did you want to take it or just put that there? Okay. Okay, so on the first one, I'm going to start off by subtracting 6 on both sides. So I get 2x squared equals negative 6. Then I want to go ahead and divide both sides by 2, which gets me x squared equals negative 3. Then I want to go ahead and get rid of that exponent, so I'm going to square root both sides. I get x on the left, plus or minus, I have square root of negative 3. Can I simplify that? I can take out the negative and turn it into an I, so I have I square root of 3. And then on my right equation, I just need to add 3 to both sides. So I get x equals 3. Questions on this one? Okay, so the last thing we have is that polynomials can be written like a quadratic. So notice my first term exponent is double my middle term exponent. It's kind of like how quadratic, the first term is squared and the middle term is just regular x. So what I do is I factor it like normal, kind of ignoring the exponents. When I factor it, each of my terms is going to have an x squared. I always take half of my leading exponent. And then I'm still looking for what multiplies to positive 2 and adds to negative 3. Negative 1 and negative 2. And then can I simplify either one of those more? Can I factor and figure out what multiplies to negative 1 and adds to 0? This one I can. Yeah, positive 1 and negative 1. But I can't do it for the negative 2, so I just leave that. And then I take all 3 of those and set them equal to 0 because of the 0 product property. On the first one, I'm going to subtract 1 from both sides. I get x equals negative 1. On the second one, I add 1 to both sides. I get x equals 1. And then on the third one, I add 2 to both sides. I get x squared equals 2. Then I need to take the square root of both sides. So then I get x equals plus or minus the square root of 2. Questions?